It was a really, really, really rough day.
100 days ago, I decided to quit coffee.
I've just finished my last cup of coffee. There we go. Documented for the record.
Why? Well, I think it is fair to say I was dependent on coffee. You see, I never felt awake or on until I had my first cup of joe. And as much as I'd like to pretend it was nothing and that I was like everybody else in the world, it wasn't. I was addicted.
In a way, one of the most powerful drug experiences I've had in my life was the first cup of coffee after 3 months off.
Really?
It was psychedelic.
But when I learned that coffee is a stimulant drug, I felt challenged to question my relationship towards it.
Well, you're never going to understand your relationship to caffeine until you get off it.
So that was the plan, to get off it. If you think you know where this video is about to go, let me set your expectations. It may seem that it goes off in one direction, but it takes an unexpected twist at the end, so don't say I didn't warn you. I'm not a superhero. I did not go cold turkey. In fact, I could not go a morning without that taste. If you love coffee, you know that full-bodied deliciousness that is combined with an aroma that makes your mind hurt. Chelsea!
Margaret, are you having your Americano without milk today?
I know, we're changing things up.
Decaf. Decaf, really? Hey, what happened?
I'm doing a challenge where I'm quitting coffee for 100 days.
It's a surprise because you love coffee.
Yeah.
How's it going though?
Yeah.
In story.
Yeah.
The only way I felt that I could approach this challenge is if I switched out my normal coffee for a decaf alternative.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Cool.
Let me take you back to day one. I took myself out on a work date. It was cozy and decaf seemed to hit the spot. I went on with my day. I did some exercise, a little bit of filming. Everything seemed great until 2 p.m. I felt a low like I don't usually experience. It literally felt like the internal contents of my brain were giving in on itself. I felt empty. I literally had no energy. And I'm not sure if it was a combination of a headache and having no energy, but I felt unusually irritable. And no, it wasn't that time of the month. When I originally had the idea of doing this challenge, I wanted to film it. I thought it would be a great piece of content. But at the end of day one,
I wasn't actually planning to share this, but I started a caffeine detox 3 days ago. I was going to make a whole YouTube video about it. I might still. The first day I thought it wasn't going to be as bad as it was. I just didn't want to share that with the world. It was rough. It was a really, really, really rough day.
I can't remember my first cup of coffee, but I can't remember a day where I have not had coffee in my adult life. I can't believe what an identity habit coffee became. I don't know if you relate or if you feel the same, but I think it might be interesting to pause and reflect on how coffee entered our modern world in the first place. Depending on what source you read, it was introduced into European countries between the 16th and 17th centuries. What is interesting to note, though, is that there are many accounts recorded of people reacting to this new beverage with suspicion or fear, some even calling it the bitter invention of Satan. A tad dramatic. But the controversy was so great that Pope Clement this manyth was asked to intervene. He decided to taste the beverage for himself, and he found the drink so satisfying that he gave it the papal approval. Heyo! Then it was also said that people used to drink cider because the water quality was so poor. I remember hearing accounts of builders in Europe who often spoke about drinking a beer at 10 a.m. At first I thought this was a little bit off, but now it's starting to make sense. Anyway, because you boil the water for coffee, it resulted in a health boost among the general public. And unlike cider that made people, well, tipsy or drunk, coffee made employees sharper.
And I can most certainly relate to that. There's nothing like a cup of coffee to make me feel alive, awake, and somewhat enthusiastic.
But as the days went on, things were a mess.
This week I felt a little bit all over the place. In some moments, I don't miss it at all. Then in other moments, I feel I'm balanced.
How's it going?
I have to tell you, my husband, I told him yesterday, I was like, oh, you know, my metabolism isn't like it used to be. Everything just feels like it's slowing down. And he's like, yo, you know, maybe you should come back to caffeine. And I was like, how could you? But then he said he just misses having coffees with me. Monday I've got quite a big day coming, and I was actually thinking, you know what, I'm just going to have a cup of coffee on Monday. Like, I think Monday's going to be the day I'm just going to have a break. But then I don't know why, because I've been working so hard at this challenge and I'm really trying to quit. I'm going to just try and persevere, but I do miss it. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it takes me far longer to wake up every single day. And then from around 3 o'clock, the dip in energy I feel is I've never felt like that before.
But then, out of nowhere, there was a turn. Things started to change. These changes freaked me out because it felt like chalk and cheese. I decided to go see a professional because it got to the point where I didn't know what was going on with my mind and my body anymore. Come through. So Ash, I felt incredibly moody and particularly exhausted when I first quit coffee. Is it possible that I was having withdrawal symptoms?
Absolutely. So abruptly stopping coffee leads to caffeine withdrawal syndrome in some people. It can present as headaches, poor concentration, absolutely disrupted mood, and also poor sleep, sometimes even insomnia. Caffeine withdrawal syndrome has actually been classified in one of the mental and mood disorders. So physicians in the ERs have actually been taught how to identify the symptoms of caffeine withdrawal syndrome because they express quite a lot like anxiety and depression.
So my body felt like it stopped working for around 2 weeks. It was like my morning coffee used to kickstart my metabolism, and without caffeine in my bloodstream, it's like my body forgot to work. Why do you think this happened?
So just to give you a little bit of science behind caffeine and what it does in the body. Caffeine is actually the most widely used stimulant in the world. What that means is it creates a lot more things happening in the body than it would naturally. So caffeine targets the adenosine receptors of the body. So that just prevents the buildup of a chemical called adenosine, which is the hormone that makes us feel drowsy. And it also leads to an increased buildup of dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter which makes you feel happy and more alert. So with stopping caffeine intake completely, all those centers are not being lit up like they used to. Obviously, everything goes on a go slow and you are going to feel completely sluggish.
So after about a month of not having any coffee, it's like my body started functioning really well, almost better than it did when caffeine was giving it a boost. I felt like sometimes when I would drink coffee with certain breakfasts, my tummy would get angry and irritated and I would almost have to run to the bathroom. But now it feels like I'm more in tune with my body's cues. Why do you think this is?
So caffeine actually causes contractions in your stomach, your intestines, and your colon, which promotes you going to the toilet. So for someone with a bit more of a sensitive gut, that's obviously going to lead to things like feeling that burning pain and having to run to the loo. A lot of people actually need their daily cup of coffee to go to the toilet regularly, and without it, they become quite constipated. So obviously for you, stopping caffeine has actually had a better result.
When I used to drink coffee, I never drank coffee after 1 p.m. But I would still find myself struggling to sleep some nights. And now that I'm not drinking any coffee, it's almost like I'm getting to sleep a lot quicker and it's a lot easier to fall asleep. It could be because I have a second baby and I cherish sleep at the moment. So it's happening quite quickly for me. But do you think there is any golden thread between quitting coffee and now being able to sleep?
Absolutely. So caffeine actually has a half-life between 2 and 10 hours. So that means that's the amount of time that it usually affects the bloodstream and exerts its effect. So that's in a normal person. It could be that you are more caffeine sensitive, as in the case of a lot of people. It's also quite interesting to know that caffeine affects your sleep in 3 main ways. The first one is that caffeine actually affects the main metabolite of melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that affects your sleep cycle, so it leads to disrupted sleep. The second way is that it prevents a buildup of adenosine in the body. Adenosine is the drowsy hormone, so you still feel wired at the end of the day. Thirdly, it leads to a buildup of dopamine in the body. So it causes more dopamine in the body, which keeps you more awake and more alert. So the combination of those 3 things going on is obviously going to affect your sleep.
That's very interesting. What are your thoughts on decaf?
So decaf coffee is not actually completely caffeine-free. It's got about 97% of its caffeine removed from the beans before they're dried and roasted. If you drink coffee for the taste, then choosing a decaf option is quite a good idea because it doesn't affect those pleasure centers of the brain and doesn't affect your hormones during the day. There aren't enough scientific studies for us to know whether there's any positive or negative effects of decaf coffee.
It's interesting that you spoke about taste just now because I used to feel with my normal morning coffee that I would crave a second or sometimes even a third coffee later on in the day. But now with decaf, I don't even feel like having another cup. The first one sort of just hits that taste profile for me, but then I don't even miss it throughout the rest of the day. I've even found now, almost nearing the end of this 100-day challenge, that some mornings I don't even wake up craving coffee. I'm quite happy to just throw ginger in hot water. Why do you think this is happening?
So the process of decaffeinating coffee beans leads to a milder taste. So absolutely, the flavor and the taste of your coffee is going to be different. Decaf coffee is also no longer a stimulant, so it doesn't affect those pleasure centers of the brain that keeps you coming back again and again for coffee.
All right, so I felt that I was genuinely addicted to coffee. It's one of the reasons I actually did this challenge, because I didn't want to feel like I had a crutch, and I felt that caffeine became a giant crutch in my life. Now that I'm almost finished this 100-day challenge, I don't think I'm going to drink coffee again, unless I'm in Italy, obviously, then I'll drink some coffee or something like that. But I have no desire to drink it anymore. How have I been able to kick this habit?
So I absolutely believe over the 100 days that you've quit it, you've been able to become more in tune with your body and not dependent on external stimulants such as caffeine. Don't get in your head. Be proud of yourself.
So here's the twist in this video. I thought that I was smashing this challenge, and because I ditched coffee, that I had agency with regards to what I was consuming. The thing is, my chocolate cravings went up. I didn't even think about this until my friend asked me about whether I knew whether chocolate had caffeine in it. As someone who used to have boring, bland oats for breakfast, I actually switched things up. I thought that my new sweet tooth and hunger cues were as a result of the change to summer. But this Healthline article hints that my body could have probably still been craving caffeine. Check this out. Dark chocolate contains around 12 milligrams of caffeine per ounce, milk chocolate around 9 milligrams, white chocolate contained around 0. I typically start my morning with a decaf coffee, but my breakfasts these days have been ladled with dark chocolate. I'll either have dark chocolate muesli, or I'll make myself a smoothie of banana, peanut butter, and then a couple of squares of dark chocolate as well. So I know all of that is not as much caffeine as what I used to have. So I can't end this video saying I have full authority over my caffeine intake. Clearly I miss it, and I have cravings for it in different forms. But yes, I was able to quit coffee for 100 days, and I'm not planning on going back. Maybe in time I'll try quit caffeine in all of its forms. But if I can be completely honest with you, I don't think I'll have the desire to do that anytime soon. Thanks so much for spending your time with me. And if you enjoyed this video, there's no better way of showing me than by hitting that thumbs up. Thank you very much. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I've got a series coming out where it's a bit of a challenge of just understanding everything from health to finances to fitness to planning to organizing. It's going to be 15 days of fun and hopefully the ultimate reset. So if you'd like to come along for that ride, it would be great to have you. I'll see you guys in one of my next videos. Take care. Bye-bye.